I didn't know I had it.
That got everybody's attention.
Yeah, that's a good start. That's a good start.
Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. I'm running a tech portion of this just to get started. I want to welcome everybody here, everyone out in Zoom land. And tonight we're going to be having our host, our presider, is going to be Johanna Bacco, because Dorsey Ward had to take Dorsey had to take Dorsey.
I'm here.
I'm projecting. Yeah, Jay. Oh gosh, this is what happens when you bump your head. You get a bump in the head and a black eye all at the same time. So, Johanna, come on up here and kick it off, and I'll go back there. You're welcome.
All right. Good evening. As Vince said, I'm Johanna Bacco. I go by Joe for those who haven't met me yet. And I am the second vice president. What's this one? Vice president here, filling in. So call the meeting to order, and then we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If we stand, sorry. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Vince is the emitter. Vince does the emitter. More people want in. More people. Okay. And then we'll just start with a moment of silence. If we would remember Jay and Suzanne. He's our president, not able to be here tonight because Suzanne is not doing well. So we want to remember them in our prayers. Also remember anyone we've lost this last year, the people suffering in California from this horrific wildfires, just tragedy. And the president were laying to rest, President Carter, who was very impactful to me. And that's all I'll say, because I'll start crying because I'm from Georgia. And I spent my adult life in Georgia, and he's very, very close to me. So a moment of silence for all those and any other people you wish to remember. Okay, well, thank you all very much for coming out in this bitter, bitter cold, and I hope you stay safe and warm from once you get home for the rest of this weekend. Vince Vezza is going to be our speaker tonight, and just as you indulge me, just as an intro that leads into the topic that he's talking about, I ran across an article from our current Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, and he wrote an exiting letter to the people for that he wished to just include so that we can live healthier lives in what we're facing. And so he starts out, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, just a couple of the main points. He says, "My father told me he never felt emptiness, that painful gnawing feeling that something is missing in your life, until he left his farming village in rural India. But because of that feeling, it came because the people in that village took care of each other. If you needed somebody, they were there for you, and it was a close-knit community." So coming to the end of his term, he grappled with his father's story about, his father had come to America and had achieved a lot, but still his heart was in that village of people taking care of each other. So, central question during his 2 terms as Surgeon General: what are the deeper root causes of the pain and unhappiness he encountered so often across the country? And I think we're all asking ourselves that, the pain and unhappiness. Answering this question is urgent because the status quo is harming our physical and mental health, robbing us of our optimism, and contributing to division and polarization. So, after years of reflecting on the stories that he heard, he delved into the scientific data and come to see that there are 3 essential elements that fuel our fulfillment and well-being, and those 3 are relationships, service, and purpose. Relationships keep us grounded and bonded to each other. Service, from formal volunteering to informal, small acts of kindness that we do every day, is about helping each other. And purpose gives our life a sense of direction and meaning. Together, these elements form the triad of fulfillment. And I think that's the message that, let me see, that he wants to leave, that his parting prescription for the country is to remake and recenter our lives around relationships, service, and purpose. And this is the path to our health, well-being, and fulfillment. And it's what will help us find our way home. So it's not an answer for all of us, but I think it's really healthy to look at these 3 areas and find a way to keep healthy in these trying times. And Vince will tell us more about specific areas where we may want to plug in and find that fulfillment and self-worth through this year. So thank you. And Vince, are you ready to begin? Okay.
Thank you, Johann. Okay. So last year, the state Senior Democrats came together and identified, the advocacy committee came together and identified 9 topics. You all should have this handout. 9 topics that signify dignity in retirement. What are some of the things that we all can be doing, not just in our government, but in our personal lives, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, to make life just a little bit better? Okay, the election cycle's over. Ran a good race, won some, lost some, but the issues haven't gone away. And the 9 issues that we identified statewide are just those. They're statewide. They actually probably transcend our state, go beyond our borders, and impact the country as a whole. Some of these issues can only be handled at the national level. They require a Senate and a Congress and a president, probably the courts, to do some stuff, which may or may not get done in the next few years, next 2 anyway. But then some of the other stuff we can impact locally. Some of these issues are affected at the county commission level. Some of them are affected by the school board, local school board level. Some of them are even municipal in character. Some of them don't require government intervention at all. Some of them are things that can be handled by the Boys and Girls Club, or by the Police Benevolent Society, or by the Senior Center, Active Parks and Living, right? So I'd like you all to take a look at the 9. I'll read them out so you can see them, and for the record, for the people that are at home, and I need to admit one more person here. Isaac got popped off. So the first one is preserving our democracy, voting rights, and fair maps commission. Well, we don't have fair maps. We know that in North Carolina, and we paid the price for it, where we had 7 out of 14 Congress people. Now we have, 3 out of 14. It was an uphill battle. We said early on last year that Cabarrus County was central to a lot of the races that were happening at all levels up and down the ticket. And the state, as you all know, had their convention here in Kannapolis back in August. Cabarrus is one of those counties that actually impact 2 congressional districts, Congressional District 6 and Congressional District 8. There was no one running in 6, so it was just forfeited automatically to the Republican Party. In 8, we actually had a candidate who showed up late, showed up strong, not strong enough, still got 40% of the vote. And seniors got the message across to that candidate, to Justin Dews. Dorsey Ward worked very hard with the candidate to try to help him along. Wendy Wood, who is the congressional district representative for District 8 for the Senior Democrats, did what she could do. There were 2 other counties that were impacting that, or 3 other counties that had chapters. What we can do in number 1 in preserving our democracy is preserve our democracy. Don't let up the noise. Don't let up the fight. For those of you, if I haven't told you this story, there's only one time in history, biblical history, that we are aware of where the people had a choice. They had a choice. And that was when Pilate, Pontius Pilate, brought Jesus before the crowd and said, "Who do you want? Do you want Barabbas or do you want Jesus?" Well, they picked Barabbas. They picked the murderer. They picked the liar. They picked the insurrectionist. That's who they wanted. Was it a fair vote? Was it an accurate vote? We'll never know. What we do know is that the people who shouted Barabbas shouted louder than the people who shouted Jesus Christ. They didn't shout loud enough. And that's metaphorical. I don't mean that we shout with a megaphone or with a bullhorn, but we shout by our letters to the editor, by our communications with other people in our neighborhood, with our own family and our own friends, some of whom voted for the other side. And so number 1's not off the table. It's just as you're prioritizing, because what we need to do is figure out in this county, what are the top 2 or 3 things that we can do to impact these 9 issues. The second one is protecting Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. Again, that's a top level issue, right? That's at the congressional level. Next year, we vote for 14 congressmen in this state, Congress people, and 1 senator, actually. 1 U.S. Senator Tillis is going to be up for re-election. So between now and then, these next few months, what can we do to get that message to them? The one thing I would advise all of you to, if you already know this, the other side is saying that this is an entitlement program. No, it is not. It's an earned benefits program. Most of the people, as I look around in this room, at least some of us, have been paying into Social Security and Medicare since we started working. In my case, like 7 decades ago or some ridiculous number. And we were told that there was going to be money there. In fact, Wendy and I had this conversation earlier today or yesterday. There was supposed to be a lockbox. All that money that the baby boomers put into that fund was supposed to still be there, and now it's not there. And now who's going to be yelling at us, the young people? My grandkids will say, "Hey, Grandpa, what'd you do? You stole our money." No, we didn't. We put it in there, and the government stole it. Or part of the government, anyway. Some Republicans who thought it was cool. So we can't affect it right now today, but we can affect it in 2026 when we vote for our congressman. Again, we have 2 in this county. Some of the county like up in Kannapolis can vote for District 6, and some of us in this part of the county and east will vote for District 8. Dependable and affordable health care, that goes hand in hand with what we just talking about. 2 and 3 actually kind of go with each other. The 4th one, decent and affordable housing. Yeah, that requires some action at the federal level, but that's also something that can be affected and impacted at the local level. So, we need to make sure, since we don't have a Democrat on the county commission, that we attend those meetings and we stay in front of those commissioners and we let them know that we have to have affordable housing. You know, Ingrid Nurse, who's the first vice president of this chapter, who ran for county commission, lost by just several hundred votes, came very, very close. And she would have for sure been the voice for the impoverished and for the homeless. She in her own life lives that walk. I mean, she deals with the homeless people every day. She tries to figure out a way to feed them. It's up to us to make sure we go to some of those meetings, if not all of them, and make sure they know that there is a housing issue. There's a housing issue when it comes to older people. I won't ask you to raise hands, but some of the people in this room would like to be able to go into a one-story patio home that doesn't cost $500,000. As we get close to retiring, we'd like not to have to go up and climb up and down 2 flights of stairs and have to maintain a half an acre of land, lawn and so forth. We just want to, your life is like this, right? You start with your starter home, and you go up and your kids grow up, and then it starts going down and then you're out the door. That's morbid, but it's reality. And let's see if we can impact government, whether county probably, but also local government, even in the towns. Get us some affordable housing. Affordable is a key word, not just for one population, but for all populations. Affordable transportation when seniors don't have personal vehicles or a driver's license. But it goes beyond just that. I had, at the state level, my third vice president, Pamela McAfee, is also the chair or the president now of the Disabilities Caucus. And she had an interesting story to tell about a woman who needed to take public transportation, get a bus. She was handicapped, she was disabled, and she was basically in the middle of the street. And Pamela said, "What are you doing? Let's get you over to the shelter." Said, "I want to go to the shelter." The bus shelter in the summertime was hot. It was like a plexiglass thing. It was like an oven inside of there. There was no accessibility. How about we just make that more human, right? I mean, we talk about Jimmy Carter, right? Wasn't it Rosalind that came up with the off ramps for sidewalks? And just thinking of things that made everybody's life easier because you made it easier for the people that needed to catch that bus. In our local town in Mount Pleasant, last 3 cycles ago, we were doing a whiteboard exercise like this, and we said, "Hey, what do we need in town?" And one of the things that came up was we need a laundromat, because some of the people that are in the vicinity of where the current laundromat is don't have, they're poor people. They don't have a washer and dryer. We got the thing done. Not me personally, but the town working with private enterprise got a laundromat in town. And now guess what? Not only the people who don't have that washer and dryer, but people who have a washer and dryer and it breaks down and they're not going to get a new one for another week, you can go downtown. They don't have to come all the way over Concord to use the washer and dryer. It's simple stuff. It's simple stuff like that. Statewide improvements in internet communications infrastructure. Again, we don't impact that. We can't impact that directly, but we can write to the editor. We can write to the companies. I don't know if you remember this, a couple of months ago, there was a law on the book and there was funding for high-speed internet access for people in rural communities like Mount Pleasant, where you could get internet subsidized to the tune of like $30, $40 a month, enough to get you connected. That Congress came in, that bill went away, the funding is gone, and now all of a sudden some people don't have internet, or they have to make a decision: do I want internet or do I want food on the table? Well, in this day and age, if you don't have one of these guys and one of those guys and one of these guys, you're not connected, and you're not going to know what's happening, and you're not going to be able to get out in the world beyond the room that you're in. So statewide improvements in internet infrastructure, we need to keep focused on that. We do have 5 of the Council of State members now: the governor and the lieutenant governor and the attorney general, and Mo Green, the superintendent of public instruction. These folks can help us somewhat in that fight. So we need to keep staying with them. And thanks to your hard work and thanks to the party's hard work, there is now the supermajority has been broken, right? So if we can stay on top of our local legislatures and say, hey, we need to have this and see what happens. So lifelong learning opportunities, number 7, like free community college. Again, when do you stop learning? Yes, ma'am. Somebody's waiting? Oh, thank you. Eileen. Thanks for, I'm glad this is up there so you guys can get me in. Welcome, Eileen. Happy New Year. Yeah, education never stops. For those of us, remember we used to meet at Troutman's and we had dinner and everybody was kumbaya and whoever was in the room got to be there and got to see and hear what was going on. And then COVID happened and then we all had to learn this stuff, this Zoom thing. My daughter, one of my daughters taught me pretty much what I needed to know so our family could stay connected. A lot of families stayed connected because of that. And that ties back to the previous issue, right? Lifelong learning. And that could be at a community college, but that could be at active living, parks and living. It could be wherever you need to go to make sure that you keep your brain functioning and that you stay engaged. What Joe was talking about at the very beginning of this meeting. Keep engaged, right? Protecting the environment, climate change, it disproportionately affects some people, but it affects everybody. So if you're drinking dirty water, you're going to get sick. If you're breathing dirty air, you're going to get sick, right? I mean, this is just common sense stuff. So where does that battle start? It starts with our local community. It starts in our own household. You know, can we conserve some of that water? Can we not put that extra layer of pesticide on our lawn? I mean, whatever we can do locally and then build it on up. And finally, addressing disinformation and misinformation. I got to tell you, this is crazy town we're living in, right? I'm on TikTok. How many people are on TikTok here? Anybody else beside me? Brave enough to raise your hand? Yeah. So talk about distortion, but TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, now without any fact checking as of a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Blue sky is where we need to be. Right?
Well, it's right now. For now, here's my suggestion. If it looks like people are fighting each other, and there's a lot of that dissension and a lot of that fighting going on, keep in mind that is probably most likely coming from the Russian bots.
Oh, yeah.
They want us to fight each other. They want us to hate the MAGAs. They want us to hate the Republicans. They want us to hate our neighbors. You don't have to love them, and you sure don't have to love their politics, but we can't be estranged from one another. And if in any platform that you're on, that misinformation is pervasive, it's subtle, it's dangerous. It's always been around. It wasn't as dangerous because it wasn't as subtle. Back in the good old days when the Hearst organization ran things and they ginned up everybody to go fight a war in Cuba, the Spanish-American War. Nobody in this room will remember that, but my granddad would. It was obvious what they were doing. Now it's not so obvious. Now the AI is a part of the equation. See, I'm paying attention, Wendy. I listen when you tell me, right? You can be looking at a figure and you have someone talking to you and you think that's a real person, and it's not. It's just not. You could look just like Jimmy Carter. You know, he'd come back tomorrow, and we know that he died. We know that he was going to be, well, he's probably buried by now. But don't be surprised if a week from now there's not some trope on Twitter or someplace, and you see Jimmy Carter coming back. Say, let me tell you one more thing. No, it's not real. So question reality. So the exercise we had for you all today, and for those of you at home, is if you could take those 9 issues and hold this up to the screen. Can you see that at home, guys, ladies? The 9 issues that we talked about. If you could identify 2 or 3, let's say 3, that you think you can personally impact, So if that's bringing food to a food shelter, a food bank, if that's working with a women's shelter in town, if that's working with whatever organization you're already tied, because so many of the people in this room and out in Zoom land are not just here as Democrats, but we also belong to other organizations. Some of us belong to a writing group or more than one. Some of us are in a quilting group. Where are some of the things where you go? Some of us doing line dancing. Where do you spend your energy where you can influence other people and come back a month from now, 2 months from now, and talk about how you can personally do something and how you can encourage somebody else to do something to make life a little bit better for that neighbor, regardless of their political party. In February, Dorsey and I were talking about this. Next month in February, we're going to focus on the Black community, as we did last year in February. It happens to be Black History Month, but that's not why we're picking that particular month. Some of these issues affect us locally more than like this list of 2 or 3 that you come up with might be 2 or 3 different than somebody comes up with in the eastern part of the state, or certainly out in the western part of the state where they just got whacked with the hurricane. But some of them also disproportionately affect communities within our community locally, right? Circle them. We're going to talk about those next month in February, and the month after that, and the month after that. And then when we get into June, you're going to have an opportunity to elect a new leadership team. They keep some of the leaders, but I want to thank, where is she? I don't see her there. Oh, Wendy Miller said that she would be on the committee, to the nominations committee. And Sophia, I see you out there. I had called you earlier today. I hope that you'll agree to be on that nominations committee. Can you say yes or put your thumb up?
Vincent, I had to make your dental work. That's why I'm not there tonight in person.
Okay.
Vince,
But
I know I had some major dental work, and that's why I'm not out tonight.
I understand, but can you be a part of the committee?
Yes, I think I had agreed to that some
I
time
thought
ago.
so. Okay.
Yes,
Well,
I would
okay.
be delighted to.
Awesome. Is there anyone else who would like to serve on this committee? On Zoom or in the war room? We need probably one more person to be on the committee. You can't run for office and be on the committee, but the Wendy Miller, who actually ran a very successful committee to get the interim folks for the county, has all of the paperwork and the forms and the process and the vetting and all that other good stuff. So we're going to have a pretty robust start. Yeah. Oh, you can mute yourself now, Sophia.
Thank
You're welcome. Thank you. So give it some thought if you don't want to answer here. So I will collect all of these guys, or somebody's collecting, tabulating them.
Yeah, Vanessa's
Okay. And the folks in the back of the room, or I'm sorry, out on Zoom, I'm going to take, what I'll do is I'll send you a poll, okay? Because I've got your names out here, and ask you to respond to that via email after the fact, and we'll tabulate and put them all together. Your turn.
Thank you, Vince. That was excellent. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I would like to just, let me get into this, take it just one level. I know these are all very important, and people want to plug in different areas, but what I'd like to envision that with the 2 or 3, if we can find somebody to lead that group, then we work in that area as a group. Like, let's say for affordable housing, somebody wants to take the lead on that, then you meet as a group. Maybe it's 2 or 3 people, and you say, okay, what are we going to do to impact that in our community? And it doesn't have to be anything huge. It just has to get started. So, but I'd like to see that happen with the 2 or 3 that we pick as a group that we think is most important. But never let that limit you on what you want to do in your community and whatnot. Because I'm still got this flyer on my counter for Meals on Wheels. back and forth. Do I want to do that and deliver? And I had a grandmother that just loved that service in Ohio. So I go back and forth. And the key is pick something that's very important to you, but don't overcommit. Just if you're just doing one thing and you're doing it well, that's perfect. We don't need you to be doing 2 or 3 and feel stressed. We want to build the community. We want to have a healthy group. Not that this is the only place you can do it, but we want to build relationships here. We want to find that area where we can be of service to others and then find our purpose. So I look forward to working with everybody on that and getting our top 3. So that's it for the program. And then I just
Can I
like,
ask a question?
oh, you can. Yes.
Are you asking us to identify topics that we feel like we can have make a personal difference in, like providing transportation, or are you asking us to identify topics that as a group we're going to advocate for? For example, protecting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. I don't think there's a lot I can do as an individual with that, but as an advocate, as a group, are we saying we could pressure politicians, get out there to pressure politicians?
Yeah,
I'm not
call our
sure
politicians
exactly
and
what
follow.
you're asking us to do.
Well, if that's a top and very important, it is a very important area, then that group that we could identify to add a task says, okay, how can we make a difference in that? And that would be that group's task to say, okay, we're following the legislation and we're making sure that we're on top of what this new administration is doing and how it's going to affect us and who we need to contact and whatnot. Wendy, it's my thought on that.
Let me piggyback on Dorsey's question. Could voter education on certain of these topics be a thing we can do?
I sort of saw that in the misinformation, because we need voter education. And I keep hearing this so many different areas. I mean, many different areas. We need to get civics back in there. And we may choose to say, hey, that's how we're going to fight this misinformation or disinformation, is we're going to educate our voters. And are we going to be able to educate, thousands of people? No, but if you don't start somewhere and find your purpose and your passion, I say if we can change 1 or 2, then that's more than we've changed by not doing anything. So that's where I see that. Is that what you were asking? Maybe?
No, I see disinformation and misinformation as propaganda, and that is a big issue.
Yeah.
But let me use I have a couple of examples, but let me pick on climate change as, and I could do Social Security and Medicare too. And that example that Vince did about voting for the wrong thing, we're senior Dems, so we were certainly around in 2000 when it was George W. Bush on the debate stage with Al Gore. And if we remember the debate, one of those debates for the 2000 election, we will remember Al Gore saying, we need to put Social Security in a lockbox. We need to put Social Security in a lockbox. In fact, he said it so many times during that debate that they mocked him afterwards.
That's true.
And the American public voted for who? Bush.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they voted for Gore, but that's a whole.
Well, not quite enough of them, yeah, and Roger Stone and his book. Okay, so another thing, let me talk about climate change for a minute. We just have seen California, Los Angeles burning. We saw Asheville and Western North Carolina go through some of the most horrendous flooding from Hurricane Helene. Florida already has insurance companies are pulling out. They're pulling out. So insurance companies in California is talking about it next.
My son's homeowner's insurance in Florida is going from $4,000 a year to $10,000.
And the state governments are going to have, because the insurance companies are just going to stop. I mean, they'll charge it. No, you can't blame them. And so the next thing it's going to be put on the backs of taxpayers, because the Republicans think climate change is a hoax, let me quote, what's his name? We have got to do a better job of educating people on the consequences of not coming out to vote. I mean, you know, by the way, Vote Builder now has the list of people who did not vote. Somebody's gonna have to hold me back. Joe, where are you? Because
Really?
I would like to kind of work with some of those people, particularly the Democrats who did not vote. Or people who typically voted for Democratic candidates who admitted to some stranger on the street or telephone call person that they changed their mind this time and voted for Trump. We'll never know that, but we heard it was happening. Anyway, I think we can do better on voter education because, we're gonna be in trouble if we keep doing this. Disinformation is lying. I'll use the Cold War term and the World War II, pre-World War II term propaganda, because that's what it really is.
Remember when Josh Stein used to have a weekly promo on Facebook called Civics with Stein.
Yeah.
And he would explain everything, and I knew he would win anything it was like being in school, which of course they've cut that out of school. They don't want
Yeah,
education.
they did cut it out during Reagan's administration. He hammered educators because reading and math scores were low. And so what was their answer to fixing education? Cutting out these other programs like art, music, civics.
Right,
And
because artists and musicians tend to be Democrats.
well,
They
whatever, they wanted to get rid of all of the
it,
extras,
right.
so they wouldn't have to pay art teachers and music teachers
Right.
and civics teachers. They just extended the number of hours they focused on reading and math. So,
Right.
education, they've been cutting education funding. Republicans have been cutting education funding ever since. And now this one wants to get rid of the Department of Education altogether.
Well, why don't we start with these and then why don't we start with these? And that's an excellent, I am big on education. I mean, I think that's huge. And we can take the polls and on whatever Vince gets from the Zoom folks, and then we'll present them at our next meeting, and we'll get a consensus on if we want to focus on 2 or 3 areas. And I like that idea of maybe we can add that in there as civics
Well,
education.
I like whoever it was that said it would have been you, Wendy. If we pick, let's say we pick 3 areas, I think before we go out and advocate for those areas, let's just say, I'll just pick one, climate change, clean water and air. I think we would need some education about, well, what are we advocating for? What's out there in terms of legislation or
Well, that's
movements
part
or-
of the group that we would put together. If that's an important area, then the 2 or 3 people would find out, okay, how can we impact that here in our
Right,
community?
we're talking
Yeah, with our
community,
community
state,
and especially
nationally.
with what, just happened in Western North Carolina and things like that. So that would be up to the person. We don't have to decide that tonight. And I'd like to move on because I want to recognize the candidates and do our meeting. But yeah, these are the lists, how we get there.
I would
Would
like
be
to
determined.
just change this number 9 instead of address, okay, correct or debunk disinformation with voter education. But
Okay.
that is, because I think we need to correct it, be strong about it. I'm with Wendy on the voter education.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
still
me too.
separating these two. I'm still separating. Voter education could be applied to each one of these. Disinformation is propaganda. So
It is.
I'm still
So-
recommending.
But if your
those two.
voter is educated,
Right.
then learning, how the government works and also, how to determine, there's courses in elementary schools teaching them how to decide what is misinformation and how the process. And I don't know what that is. I need
Not
to go through that
anymore.
class.
Me-
I need to go through that class, but there's ways to
Critical
educate just basics on our government and how that works and how to determine what's good. So, Okay, thank you for your time. I'd like to recognize, I see Michelle Williams is here.
Wait a minute, what do you want us to do? See, do you want us to turn them in?
Yeah.
Circle them and turn them in?
Vanessa, circle and give them to Vanessa. You're
You
three.
need to get back in front of the camera.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So nowadays, we take time to recognize Michelle Williams, who is here, ran an excellent, I know many of you worked with her on her campaign for school board, and we are continuing to work to get her on the vacant seat, and I'd like you to come up and speak to us about that, Michelle.
All right, Michelle, tell us why we have a vacancy.
Yes, I'm gonna. Oh, it's a lot of craziness going on in our county. As a first-time candidate, it was an eye-opener. But I first of all want to say I love all the things you guys are doing here in the Senior Dems, and it's just great to hear all the wonderful ways that you guys are pouring into the community, and that's really, really good to my heart. So it's great to hear that and to be here. And I want to piggyback on what Vince was talking about and how we can actually get involved even more and to be proactive in fighting for our kids here in our county. I'm Michelle Williams. I ran for school board. Everything from speaking, having speaking engagements in Harrisburg with teachers, staff members, family members across the county, trying to find out what their concerns are, what are the strengths of our public schools, what are the challenges that we face, because I think that's really important to get that input from the community, right? And so, of course, this is the first time that this race has been partisan. And so that pretty much meant that everyone had to indicate what party they belonged to. And I believe that it was a tactic in order to make all of our entire county red. And I'm sure all of you all know that already.
They used to be party, and they did away with it and they brought it back.
Yeah, and it's to me, it's a frustrating thing because it's almost like it's a game. And to me, when it comes down to children and our families and doing what's best for our kids, it's just not one perspective, because our whole county there's Democrats, there's Republicans, there's independents, and we need to have a board that has at least a balance, right? So that we can get the perspective of all people, not just one select group of people. And so there's a vacancy right now because Laura Blackwell Lindsay, who was on the school board, is now a county commissioner. And so there's 2 years left on her term. And so they put it out there for the entire community. Who would like to vie for this seat? 8 people submitted their resume and their cover letter, including myself. I am the only Democrat that decided to put my name out there. Number one, because I believe in our children. I believe in our teachers. I believe in our public schools, and I worked really hard for this, and I'm not stopping. And so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. And it's a challenging thing because the people that are running right now, there is one individual who is the head of the GOP's wife, and she decided to put her name out there as well. And so people have told me, the odds are stacked against you, and I understand that. I really do. And people are saying, a Republican is not going to vote for a Democrat, which I understand that perspective as well. But I do think it's important that we show up. I think it's important that we fight. I think it's important for us not to just lay down and just let it all happen. I think it's important for us to let our voices be heard and to say that we recognize what is going on in our county and is not right. And so there are ways that you can advocate and to fight with me. Monday is the school board meeting where they will make that decision. So this previous Monday, they were supposed to nominate individuals between those 8 individuals. They made an announcement and said that 2 people actually are not a part of the race anymore. And that's Brian Floyd, who was on the school board. He decided he did not want to proceed for this appointed seat, and Cindy Furtenbaugh. And I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Forgive me if I'm not. Okay. And so, after the meeting, she said, the first thing she said to me was, they're going to select R. And so I can understand people saying, it's a waste of time. Why would you do that kind of thing? But at the same time, we also want to make a statement, right? We want to let them know that we have our eyes on them. We know what's going on, and our kids matter. all kids matter, right? And so that is really our point here. Maybe there's a slight chance that we can sway a moderate Republican, but if not, I mean, that's just the way it is. And so these are ways that you can get involved. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are already know, maybe you got an email about it. But I do have a sign up here where if you could put your name, if you haven't signed up already. And there's a part on here where you can maybe put a check if you will email board members to pretty much advocate for, Michelle Williams to get the seat and why. Just to give you a little bit of information about me for those who might not know, I am a certified teacher. I'm not teaching right now at the moment. I have kids in a Cabarrus County school, and I've been serving on the PTO board at my kids' school. And a lot of teachers and staff members come up to me or even write me and say how important it is to have someone who is actually invested right now in our schools and who are walking the halls, sees what's going on right now. The head of the GOP's wife, she has a strong resume. A lot of the individuals who are running have strong resumes, right? So the head of the GOP wife, she's been an admin in Cabarrus County. She's been a teacher in Cabarrus County. And there's they are plastering it all over Facebook, all of her credentials and things like that. That's how I know. And so there's arguments all over Facebook about how she's the best and all these things, but that's neither here nor there. She did not run for school board. It's easy. In my opinion, it's the easy way to go if you just decide, hey, I'm just going to put my name on the list once this is all over because I have a feeling that Laura is going to get in. And so you Republicans better vote for me because I'm the head of the GOP wife, and it's just not right. And so there are 3 ways you can help. You can sign up to speak at the board meeting on Monday by emailing the board clerk at boardclerk@cabarrus.k12.nc.us. I will circulate this piece of paper here. There is also the second way you can help is to email the current board members advocating for my appointment. You can find that on the Cabarrus County Board of Education site, their email addresses, or I can circulate this and you can take a snapshot with your phone so you can have that. And then the third way is to attend the meeting as just someone in the audience that has my pin on just to represent, because I know it does take a lot to get up in front of folks and to speak for 3 minutes. But speaking for 3 minutes speaks louder as well, though. And so even if I don't get appointed, the point is we are showing up and we are showing up strong and we are fighting. And we are not just laying down and just saying, woe is me, we lost, and let the Republicans just take control from here on out. So we have a plan. I do get to speak.
I want you to say that, what you said about Iran.
Oh yeah. I absolutely will say that because people, that's the easy road.
You need to say that.
Yeah. And one individual on Facebook who put their name out, they said, oh, this is just 1/10 of I'm glad I didn't have to do all the work. This is just 1/10 of it. And I'm just like, that's like a slap in the face for someone like me. I sacrifice my kids' games to be out, doing this. And so, yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so the question is anyone else in this group running again? So there are now 6 people.
6.
Yes. So Sam Treadaway mentioned when they were nominating on Monday, why don't we just allow all 6 individuals to come and speak? Pam Escobar, she said a beautiful 6-minute speech about me on Monday night's meeting. It almost brought me to tears, but she really highlighted the fact that Laura Lindsay used to live in Harrisburg, and she was that voice in Harrisburg, and Michelle Williams lives in Harrisburg, right? And so she had like a really positive twist to it. She talked about the Institute of Political Leadership, which is about a 2-month program that I did in Raleigh that helps prepare you to govern, which I dedicated a lot of my time and resources to do for this position. And to me, it's not a position, it's a calling, right? It's not about a political, let me get this political name out there or anything like that. That is definitely not my personality. My personality is protecting our kids, and fighting for our kids and our teachers, our staff members that are working really hard every single day and not trying to deprive anyone in our school community of anything that they need, as long as we do it responsibly and have a healthy fiscal responsible manner to approaching that. So I will pass that around. Many of you may have already signed up, but speaking for 3 minutes, emailing, will attend. And then if you can add your email address at the end, I can do that. So if you can pass that around. And then this is the sheet that has the address of the location on Monday. I'm asking folks to get there at 5:30 p.m. if they can. It starts at 6.
Where is it? Where they have this meeting?
At the Board of Education, 4401 Old Airport Road.
Close to the arena.
Wendy, is there any way that you can send that email you sent out to us to
I can
Vince
send
and
it
he
out
could get it to this group?
I was looking around the room, most of the people.
Oh, this is,
are on my email
is this
list
on?
already.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oops.
Now, I don't know if everybody wants to know all the other people who are running or you guys don't really care about that part. Okay, you want to know who's running? Okay, so there's Robert Kirk, Shannon Lancaster, Bubba Hartzell, Josh Lambert, and Deborah Allen. Now, some people might not know who all those people are. I don't know a lot about all of them, but I have heard Deborah Allen speak at a school board meeting before. She is a substitute teacher in Cabarrus County Schools. And when she got up to speak the last time, she complained about the redistricting and how there are kids that are misbehaving that are coming to her schools that she's subbing at, and that she doesn't like that. So, yeah, so Robert Kirk, Shannon Lancaster, which is the head of the GOP's wife, Bubba Hartzell, who did run but did not make it past the primary. So that's answering someone's question. I'm sorry. Say that.
Well, we're calling him Bubba, but is that not Darren Hartzell from Midland?
Oh,
Yeah,
No.
I think I saw the.
I'm not sure his real name. Patrick, I thought it was Patrick. I mean, I don't know. I might be wrong. Josh, of who he is, somebody might be familiar with the primary, but he will probably go up there and say that he works for public education. I believe he's an IA for maybe Kannapolis schools. And then I'm not sure a lot of information about Robert Kirk, but someone here might be familiar with him.
In the email I got, I thought it said that they changed the meeting from Monday to Tuesday.
No, from Tuesday to Monday.
They changed it from Tuesday to Monday.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. So it's Monday, not Tuesday.
Well, if you
Yeah.
could get that email, Wendy, to the group, maybe Vince could send it out, because thank you, Michelle, for that information. Michelle ran a model campaign and canvassing. I saw her everywhere out in the community. And the information that you sent was very helpful. I mean, all the emails are right there, and your talking points where I was able to put together emails to the board very easily. So that's what we need to do, make it easy for people to put together these emails. So I did send that this week, and I am going to the board meeting. If anybody wants to ride with me on Monday, give me a call. All right, thank you very much. This is where we can make an impact and get involved in our community. All righty, we need to move along here. We're going to do a quick business meeting. Vanessa, you want to come up and give the minutes from our November meeting?
Good evening, everyone. I won't read the minutes because we're running out of time, but they have been I put them on Slack under announcements. So we have minutes of the meetings from November. We didn't have a meeting in December. So those are the meetings. You find them there. Any corrections, please let me know.
how many folks here know how to go on Slack and see those minutes? Yeah, that's my concern.
Yeah, remind us.
Learning curve.
I don't know how to tell you go on Slack. You could contact Andy. Andy, hello.
Andy,
You could contact Andy.
could you
Ingber,
send out something to the group on how to
and
get
she
Slack
could
again?
send you the link to get on Slack.
Andrew, right here. Andrew, you need, okay.
Okay, we'll do it at the end.
I'll send you.
Okay. Maureen, you want to give the treasurer?
Hi. Okay. By the way, we had our Christmas get together at O'Charlie's and it was very, very nice. So the payment for that plus the tip was $223.24. And I paid for our post office box up through the end of June. Now we still have $646.24 in the checking account as of the end of December. And we keep $100 in the cash box. So our total assets are $746.24. And now that people are starting to pay dues again, we'll build it back up again. So we're doing okay. And that's all.
$10.
Okay, December.
Oh, Ingrid is going to give the membership report, but I have that.
Okay.
As of the end of 2024, we have 81 paid members. And the reason we have so many is because many people wanted to go to the state convention. So they paid their dues and paid for the convention. But that's pretty good. I think we're like the second largest chapter now in the state. Either Union, is it Union County?
Durham.
Oh, Durham. Okay. But Union County is larger than us too. So maybe we're the third largest. Right?
We're up
Yeah. We're doing very well. Okay.
We need to get them here. We just need to get them here.
Yeah. Okay, and the program update for you, I am part of a committee, and at the risk of repeating myself, it's myself, Dorsey Ward is the chair of the program committee, and it includes Vince and Michael Hansen. So we meet every other month and plan the programs, and a big shout out. I love working with this group. They're excellent. We work well together. Everybody pulls together and gets programs going. And once again, we always welcome input from anybody if you have any ideas that we're not covering. So thank you to Ingrid for making the Christmas program, holiday party possible with her connection to Charlie's. It was a wonderful time and hope to see more people at the next one. Then next month, I think Vince has already mentioned that we will have a panel of speakers talking to us about.
Yeah, I can give you a little preview of next month. We'd like to do a Black issues oriented meeting in February as Black History Month. And this time we want to put a little slant on what happened in the last election where we lost Black and brown voter support. And have the panel talk about, okay, how did that happen? And is there anything we can do to stop the slide? Is what I'm calling it. We're not stopping the steal, we're stopping the slide this time in 2025. So far, I've lined up Reverend Theron Smotherson, who is our local NAACP president, and Dr. Amy Steele, who's in charge of a statewide group that advocates brown and Black voter registration. It's called New North Carolina Project. So I've got those two coming. I've got one other person on my list, but he hasn't responded yet and actually said he'll come. But I'd like to have 3 folks come, Black leaders in the community, to talk with us about that issue. So that's February.
Yeah, that's February 13th, next meeting. So hope to see you there. And speaking of that, another program, because we work with our different groups here, the Cabarrus County Democratic Party is going to have a table at the MLK Fair in Kannapolis, which will be Monday, January 20th. If anyone who wants to come out and participate, it's an excellent fair and festival. So I encourage you to do that. But the Democratic Party will have a table there. So. Okay, then our final report from Andy Ingber, who's our communications vice president.
First, if anyone needs a sample letter, I wrote a letter to all the board members.
Can the Zoomies hear you? Can
Can the
Zoom
Zoomies
people hear you?
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
All right, I'm throwing up the Zoomies.
Zoomers.
Members can click and turn
Back
on
on
the
Zoomies.
Zoomies.
Okay.
She usually refers to them as my Zoomies.
Yeah, she does.
All right.
Sorry, Andy.
There he is, my co-chair of Midland, just making sure. Okay, so
Tell us who you are.
Andrea Engber, I'm the third vice president of the Cabarrus County Senior Dems, and I do communications, do all the mobilize events, help Vince with the newsletter, mostly though the Facebook page. I would like to I'm trying to get a website just for us, okay? And if I can land this cheapo deal with good hosting, I'm going to do it. A lot of people don't like to be on Facebook, but they will check stuff on a website if it's sent to them. So if anyone wants a copy or an idea how to write the letter, Wendy did send something out. And by the way, Rob Walter, the address, no matter what you see for his address, make sure you capitalize the R and W with his name or it won't go through for some reason. I say, so Rob Walter, he's the chair of the school board. And yeah. So if anyone wants a copy, I sent it to a few people and you can just copy some of it, put your own words in. But the idea is to show that Michelle is different from the others. She's so compassionate and lives for this. And one of the things that I stressed is that Michelle has a like her project, what she calls her whole campaign is dealing with the whole child. Okay, it's not like a one size fits all. Every child's different, and she focuses on that. And I think, we need her on this board for sure. And anything else, the only thing really, I've been very depressed. I mean, since the result of this election, I know a lot of us are. I'm going to be out for just a few weeks. I have some health issues that I have to deal with. I'm, surgically, medically, however, and that'll be just a couple of weeks in probably early February. Okay. The other thing is my wish, the thing that I tell myself to make myself laugh, but also feel better. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the series Dexter. Nobody's heard of Dexter? You have.
Yeah, but isn't that sort of?
He's a serial killer with he's a good serial killer. He's a good one. He has a moral code. I read, it was written by a cop, and actually the short story about him is he goes after people that get through the system. And I don't know if you've seen another recent series based on an old book and movie called The Jackal, which is remarkable, about an assassin. And I just have fantasies of hearing the hostess at the dining room of Mar-a-Lago going, Dexter and the Jackal, table for two. And that, just picturing that, right? All our problems would be solved.
We're being recorded or targeted.
Turn off the recording.
Yeah,
Turn
stop
off
the recording.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, well, we're right at the end. We just want to celebrate
It's just
birthdays here. If
Right.
anybody's here. I'm gonna read off the birthdays for January and see if anybody's here. Tell me if I'm not pronouncing. Okay, Ingrid's not here. Ingrid Nurse, Walter Giet, is that my Feet? Walter Feet. Carrie Hunter, Lucille Spears, Noor Idris,
When you say
Gloria.
Walter Theat,
Yeah.
I'll I'll call him with that.
Gloria Jarvis,
Yeah.
Regina Burchett, Oneida Morrison, Thomas Clark, and Joyce Saxton. Nope. Not able to make it, but happy birthday. What, Vince?
Gloria's not here, but wondered if you can convey. Okay.
Say happy birthday to Glory for us. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, well, thank you. That's it for tonight.
Next meeting?
Yeah, well, I said it once. It's February 13th, though. Next meeting is February 13th. And look forward to seeing you there and hoping for a little warmer day.
Michelle's paper is still right here. You haven't gotten it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone in Zoom land. I'll go ahead and end the meeting and get information out to you all. Have a great day.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care.
You